functions. Like when I'm lazy, just put the function. I'll be calling the function much later. Please, that is not me in the meme. I'll see you again. All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. So basic arithmetic in Python. I'm sure everybody here can do this. 1 plus 1, 1010 minus whatever. Python is up to the task, like any programming language to do that. And this good part is once, typing it right away, you see that there's no print function, and it actually just goes ahead and prints it itself, as it's that simple to use Python. And I'm sure, I want to believe that everybody can go through these simple processes of division, of powers, of exponents, of divisions, functions in Python. Python is really up to the task. Anybody, honestly, I think as soon as Python is a language that can less than a week. Yeah, the good thing, the syntax is really simple. So yeah, Python is that language that can be learned in so short a time. And I think that's one of the reasons why many people use it for data science. Apart from the fact that there are many packages available in it, it's so easy to develop and pick up so fast. I know many times, because I write in multiple, I write in C, I write in C++, and Java, but many times when I'm looking for a solution, especially when I'm not familiar with, I like to go with Python because I understand the code fastest and it's easier to tweak. Tweaking a Stack Overflow Python code is easier. It's easier to debug and tweak than some other languages. So yeah, but it also depends. Like the truth is, really sure we can get the notebook for the class after the session, but I would like as much as possible for everyone to follow on their own and actually type these things out and try code like, yeah. So what makes Python language unique and advantages over other languages? Yeah, so what makes Python unique, as we said earlier, we mentioned it, is that why is Python for machine learning, which is part of what makes it so unique, is that it's easy to use. Multiple libraries and frameworks already exist. There are so many, there are so many libraries and frameworks. You can literally guess any task you want to perform and type it into Google, Python package that can, you will find it. I can almost bet that you will find it. That's how versatile Python is, because anybody anywhere can pick it up and create something usable with it. And it's very portable and extensible. From machine to machine, it's so easy to use. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for also answering the question. I see Calamity, Syracuse, it's the lazy versatile guide language. Honestly, I tell you. So variables and data types in Python. Yeah, so I'm curious. We say work has been done already. Just relax and enjoy Python. So I'm curious, any other arithmetic operations that might be a bit, but it's not mentioned here? Any other one? Arithmetic operations that you want to point out that can be done with Python that is not already mentioned here? Anybody wants to help us out? You don't need to. Thank you. You don't need to end every statement with the colon. It was hard for me because I started programming with Java. Thank you. The modulo operation. Yes, the modulo operation. I believe modulo is done with the floor division. Yes, natural logarithm. Like so many, you can literally. Thank you so much. Floor division, natural logarithm. Yes, and all these things are as easy as typing simple the symbols. Thank you very much. Yes, natural logarithm, complex numbers. Python is really, really that versatile and usable. Thank you very much. All right. So the lazy evaluation. All right. There was a meme I saw once where they were comparing Python and R, and okay, thank God we're in the Python class. So and they were like, Python. So the meme was like, Python is Superman and R is Batman. So Python is so powerful and everything, but R could be more scientific and very straight to the point. I remember one of my first times learning R, and I was like, why do I have to assign with anything that is not an equal to sign? It was really funny for me. I was like, why? It just makes a lot of logical sense to just assign with the equal to sign. So Python is very human friendly, I would say it that way, and it's very straight to the point. So some Python variables and data types, integers, floats, booleans, and strings are the basics. Yeah, we have, actually that's about it. And we have the integers are whole numbers, and the floating points are obviously with decimal point. And the type function, very beautiful one that can always help us to know the data type of our English language that computer understands. Thank you, Davis. Thank you so much. And for lazy, yeah. But another part of Python is because Python is so human, there's a lot of interpretation that happens, and Python is could be slow for some tasks, especially low tasks are closer to the computer hardware. That's why largely for hardwares and IoT applications. But now we have micro Python and we have other Python packages for Python for hardware as well. But yeah, so one function that comes as a low cost, yeah, slow, exactly. So one of the beautiful parts of this, I'm sure that many data scientists will be very familiar with the type function that helps us to know what data type we are working with in Python, because as you are working with your data, you want to know, you've gotten how many columns, so what are the data types present here? And it's also a very fast way of knowing if there's a problem with the column. Imagine having a column in your data set that is supposed to be maybe numbers, or they're supposed to be imagine the price, the price of something, and then you are seeing, and when you do the data type, you are seeing a string, or you are seeing a Boolean inside the price, and all the other prices are what now? They are integers or they are floating points. There's a problem. So you can always find the type of any variable with the type function, and once you say okay, let's say B8 is 5, that type 100, that's an integer float. These are really straightforward and that's simple. Let's try a Boolean type. Let's say true. Type comes out as bool, which is short for Boolean. All right, moving on, assigning variables, which is for me is one of my favorite parts. Like I mentioned, it shocks me when I find languages where they assign variables to something that is not equal to. Life is simple now. Let's keep it simple. So with a simple equal to sign, you can assign your variables and find the type like we showed above. We can also do arithmetic with your variables. I'm trying to just run through so that as we are carrying everyone along, we are all making some form of progress. Variable reassignment is simple. Yeah, keep in mind, you can, so one of my favorite parts of programming is, I mean, what's in between INT 62 and INT 32? Okay, all right, so while can someone answer this in the chat room? The difference between the different INT types. Okay, I'll quickly explain this and then let's wait for someone to explain that, and then I'll also chime in on something. So one of my favorite parts of Python is that you can say A equals to A plus A, and it's a program. In mathematics, this doesn't make any sense, but we are not actually saying equal to. In Python, to say equal to, the equality sign is not equal to, it is a double equal to for equality. So what we are actually saying is we are saying that let whatever is in A, add that same thing to A, and then put it inside the memory space or memory location allocated to that we have coded with this name, the variable. Okay, thank you very much. Space that's allocated for the number. I think some more answers are still coming in. Thank you. We have so many goals here. I'm honored to be taking all these amazing people. Thank you very much. See the amazing people that I have the honor of running through basic Python. You guys must be bored already with all these basic things, but I'm glad to have everyone following. All right. Awesome. Yeah, so basically it's your capacity. So just like the variable, like the bits and the bytes that they are able to hold. I think they run from 10,000s to millions of values. So if you try to store some kind of values in INT32, I think someone can just run a quick Google search. You find the different number of values you can run. So if you try to run, maybe I think it's over, maybe 10,000. The 16 runs out. some millions, just that's how they go, billions or gazillions and all like that. What are you submitting, please? Okay, so moving on. Um, variable assignment. Yeah, one of my other favorite ones is doing the same instead of doing the a equals to a plus a. I just like to say a plus equal to 50, and then every time, let's say a is 50, and I say a plus equals to that. I'm saying add 50 to whatever is in a, and then put it back in a. And when I run that, it keeps increasing. If I run this again, it becomes 150, and so it's just so beautiful. It should be the same meaning for float 64 too. Yes, it's the same meaning for the floats as well. Yes, it's the same meaning for the floats as well. Okay, strings. Strings are simply ordered sequence of characters. So strings are actually more than just text values. The idea of a string is an ordered sequence of characters, usually text. So ordered means that you're able to use indexing. Yeah, a refresher of, yes, very, very true. I if I was I remember the first time I imported, let me just share something. I remember the first time I imported a CSV file without Googling how to import CSV with pandas. I almost did Thanksgiving that day because for me it was a big win. I didn't even Google it because every day we Google stuff and it's fine. I think many times I think I should speak to us, and I don't know if people here are also share the same view that many times we don't feel bad about Googling something that you feel you don't know, or something that you feel like is a small thing. Don't feel bad about it at all. Please go ahead and Google. Next time you may not forget. But if you need to Google, please don't be shy about it or anything. Everybody Google stuff. I mean, I go to Twitter every day, I see some of these people that we respect in the field, and they're like, man, still Google this today. So as much as possible, Google all the way. Please Google all the way. Exactly. How else am I supposed to know it? Yeah. So please do not feel bad. Be happy in your growth. Grow, and as you work on projects like Lekon mentioned in the earlier session, please Google. I have learned so much Googling. It was by Googling. I remember I was helping someone solve a problem. I had totally forgotten that you can read. I'll type it in the. Okay, let me just type it on the screen. I had totally forgotten that it was possible to read CSVs as say PD, or to read a file as read clipboard. Like, I had forgotten that this was possible. You know, you can just copy something to your copy something, and then you can use it in pandas immediately without painting to the CSV or something. I had forgotten. So one day I was helping someone solve a problem. I saw it on that. Yeah, that's true. PD or read clipboard. I don't need to create CSVs or Excel sheets every time. You know, yeah, Google knows all. It knows better than you. But the one that knows how to find something and use it. Thank you, Ibrahim Muitala. That's a beautiful one. That's a beautiful one. So, and also the strength of the Python community. Everybody is able to help everybody, and there's so much information available. Other than many times, I'm seeing some hands raised. Please use the chat room if, yeah. You see, someone said they didn't even know that they could do that. So you see, there are many times, rather than trying to, once I find that I can't, I've thought I can't. Someone said a genius once said. All right, so please go ahead and Google. Don't feel bad about it at all. Please, it's allowed. It's not cheating, unless you're in an exam and it's in the instructions clearly stated that that's not allowed. Okay, so strings. Simply putting a quotation will make any thing typed in between the quotation a string. And when we get to orders of strings, you find out that the using this and the single quote most times doesn't affect your code, but once I have a bed space on Stack Overflow, and but the single quote, but in some instances, especially where maybe, I think I noted that somewhere down below, you see the differences. However, generally, anything placed in between become for me, I remember, let me share a funny story. For me, one of the problems I had with strings was using the Python input function. I would have created things, I would have inputted them, and I'm trying to perform some calculation, and I'll find out I'll be getting the value error. We're getting a value error. Why? What's going on that I can't do a string? When I put a number, but then I found out that whatever you pass into the input function becomes a string. So it must be, taken back to the integer format. So those are the things that one learns, just Googling and checking other things out. Yeah, definitely potential errors that you can have with strings are wrong quotations. Now, this is a beautiful one. There's no end quotation here. And if I run this code, you see that it pops up that syntax error again. But it's simple. There we go. One there. And you observe, yeah, this is what I was talking about. You observe that it still is not formatting as a string. And the reason is because of this here. So who can suggest something that we can do to remove this error? Anybody on the chat, just suggest something we can do to remove this error. Use double quotes. Awesome. That's it. That's just it. This was the order I was talking about. Use double quotes. Once they contradict like that, once you have one of the single quotes inside, someone said use the new line sequence. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much. So you see, I'm sincerely honored to be teaching these amazing people. Should I hand over the class? Who wants to take over? Who will take over the class for us? Yes, thank you. Wow, every people are still commenting. Wow, thank you. All right, so basic printing of strings. Someone says they can't hear. I hope we don't. Okay, I guess it's only that person. It must be a network problem. All right, so printing strings is as easy as this. Yeah, this is a good one. You observe that only the second one printed. I don't know if you've come across this issue before, but it will only print the last format unless you use the print function, which is what that print function was made for. Yeah, another beautiful one, very useful, is this is the new line that creates a new line in between that sends escape or return, that sends the next block or text or whatever actually to the next line. Very useful in printing a long number of emails. If you're someone like me that deals with thousands of emails every day, very, very useful in printing out those emails and so many other things. Also the tab, yes, tab, or I think there's an S1 too. Is it S now? Yeah. So you observe that when you use this one for me was a weird one. If you print without the function, the quotes are still there, but when you print with the print function, the quotes are not there. Yeah, indexing and slicing, very, very important and very simple, really. And the trick is just indexing starts from 0. Yeah, the new line command when printing variables. Yes, but you have to be careful. You can use the new line command when printing variables, but you have to be careful in how you do it. As long as the variable is separated by a string or is formatted, because what you say after you see that people you see that there are many amazing bosses on this call. Yes, so you can use, I like Oladapo. Thank you very much for that. You can use the separator. So once you assign the new line to the separator and you put that in your code, to separate sentences in a string separated by commas. Yeah. So to set the, I'm guessing you do a lot of NLP, sir. Oladapo. So you can do that as well. So indexing and slicing, the trick to the indexing starts from 0. I will not lie, I still I still make the mistake of this index 0 thing, but it's fewer these days. It's very when one is stressed. I remember after having sorted a number of details and find out one guy is still missing, only to discover that in one index up above. That's why it's always good. You see, I'm glad to see that we are all learning new things. It's always good to put checks in your code, and please be commenting your code. I think we need to talk to ourselves. Let's be commenting our code. Let's be helping one another. I've seen people share notebooks. Look at okay. Now forget that this notebook is an instructional and um the explanations. I've seen people share notebooks, and honestly, I have a hard time going through the code, and there's no comment. I'm guilty of it as well. It was until I left the code and I had to come out to like 3 months later that I swore that I will always comment my code. And you're like, wait, did I write this? What was I doing here? What exactly was I doing here? And many times a huge chunk of code. I have a code till today. Honestly, I have not had the time to go through it because it works. At least it works. Let's just leave it, because to untangle the mess is uncommented. So it's really hard to untangle, and it's one of those things. So please, let's help one another in the community. Let's be commenting our codes, please, so that people have less headache. So indexing. So if for word is this string, if we print the word, we get the whole word, and then 0, we get 3. Index 3 is going to be 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's the second L, and the last one will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But so you can specify your own. Thank you, Oladapo. Thank you very much for that input. Yeah, so that's actually the beautiful thing. When you read the documentary, you find out that all these functions actually have defaults that you can play around with. Yeah, so all those functions actually have default. Many of the things, so when you just see somewhere, oh, you could do this, and that's the beautiful thing. That's a very, very, very beautiful thing about Python. So characters, yeah. So if this is character, you can look at the index and also the reverse index. It's very sometimes when you don't know the length of the string, or you're expecting a string and you don't know the length, and maybe you need a character before you get the length. You can always use the negative index. You always find the last character, item in that list. Because so strings also format as lists. Well, I think we'll get to that shortly. Yep. So slicing also, yes, this is the beauty. I think this is the general notation for the slicing. You put your start, your stop, and the step. Yes. So alpha is A, B, C, D, E, F. And by the time we say alpha 0 to 3, so this is 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. All that will be printed is what you will be expecting, that the D should be printed, right? But in slicing, the last item is left out. That was it's still a tough one for me to digest, but oh well. And it has to do with the index formatting, of course. So same thing, this is very useful, especially when you want to start dealing with things like lock, ilock, for indexes and all those things. So list indexes, you can see from 2 upper bound exclusive. Awesome. Thank you very much for the technical term. So you can define your lower bound, your upper bound, your step, and all those things. So the starting index directly corresponds to where your slice will start. The stop index will to where your slice will go up to, but it does not include the index character. Very important. And the step size is how many characters you skip as you go grab the next one. And this is very important because many times I remember now, I've tried to do there are some functions I've written to do this step, and you just realize that it actually exists. Just put your step, say, okay, I want to move in steps of 2. So this is where I want to, okay. And I say I want to move in steps of 2. You see, so I have my A, B is skipped, I have C, D is skipped, I have E. So just by including the step, so I don't have to say for every this, if count is 5 or if count is 2, and we define that can be excluded just by the use of a step. Okay, basic string methods. So basic upper, basic lower. And what are those doing? You can format your string immediately into uppercase and into lowercase. For someone like I do a lot of comparisons with strings. Usually you want to keep them in the same format so that you know which is actually which. So you can easily format a string into all uppercase or lowercase. You can split a string into words, a sentence into words of strings. That will be a list that will contain all the strings. And you can also split it based on this particular item in that string. So another one is, let me add one, is title. Let's try basic.title. I don't know if I don't think I've run this. Okay, so basic.upper will give us that. Let's try basic.title. It will put everything. I think what this does is it puts everything, it capitalizes the first alphabet of each string is capitalized. Lower takes everything into lowercase. You split, let's split by say E, and then you see that E is left out. The next starts from after the E. So this can be very useful in NLP tasks. Many of the NLP functions actually have all these things in. Anybody that has worked with NLP before, you can just signify on the chat and let's say hi. Okay, print formatting. You can use the format to wow. See, awesome people are here. Awesome. I know. Wow, so many. Nice, lovely. Glad to see people doing amazing things. Okay, so this is an example of using the print formatting. And we said that you created a username, created a password for it, and now the way the format does work is once you print and you put the curly bracket, it works with the index positions between the format parentheses. The first one will always go to the first F strings for print formatting. I tell you, you can also be using the F string. So, and your password is this, instead of putting the name again. And you can, what this does is you can just put your variable name here and you can always switch the variable names. Beautiful. Soon, currently taking a course on it. Nice. Okay, so NLP is natural language processing. So it's a part of machine learning and deep learning that deals with human language, helping the machines understand human language and replicate that. Well, I just understand, but yeah, that's basically it. It's basically from named entity recognition, text similarities, lexicons. What else now? People help us. So there's speech recognition, all those things, speech synthesis, language interpretation, translations, all those things are under NLP. Part of speech tagging, all those very beautiful things. Sentiment analysis, I forgot the favorite. And you know what's so beautiful about Python once again is I remember like whole chunks of code. I remember there was a night I wanted to just see something and just play by play. I just got a sentiment analysis script from, I think it was Data Quest. And in a few hours, I was able to make sense of what they had done and make it suit me. Maybe like 2 hours max. I can imagine doing that in mother language might have been way harder, but Python is really easy to read. All right, where can you learn more about the NLP? So the Google is good, but anybody have the links you can please share. You can share links with Victoria. You cannot share links. I like Spacey a lot, but I know people that are not fans of Spacey, so you can check out Spacey. I use Spacey a lot. Most of my NLP is Spacey, so you can check out Spacey.io. You can also check out the NLTK. You can also check out, and for the TensorFlow, also Cargo, you can also check out BERT. There's a lot of deep learning stuff on BERT, analytics video. Yeah, you can just search with those tokens, BERT, Robata. Those are some amazing state-of-the-art NLP frameworks. Yeah, Coursera also. Yeah, so there are so many of those places you can learn those things from. Yeah, so that's about formatting. That's about formatting. All right, so you can format numbers as well. Basically, you can really actually you can format anything. And here's the beautiful part: you can adjust it. Look at how very intuitive. Definitely check that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That I've not had the time to just deep dive into birds. There's so much. I just little. I just dipped my feet a bit in bird, and it was really beautiful. It was on sentiment analysis, yes. But the good part is all these birds, but they come with pre-trained models, so you don't have to bother yourself about getting the large sample of data size to actually train, and you can easily just go ahead and get straight to your work. So you don't have, because most people cannot even get the size of data that is needed to train these NLP models to actually make sense. Especially when it comes to things like sentiment analysis. Yeah, so you don't have to, those is a lot of stress. I can imagine. I imagine something like GPT that was trained with millions, hundreds of millions of lines of text. How many people have access to this? Yeah, finally, I know what. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to see that concatenation. It's a way to do it, but whenever I come across questions like this, I always, God, when Wednesday, don't worry, tomorrow is Wednesday. That's when God will answer your God, right? But whenever I come across questions like, is concatenation a substitute for formatting? The truth is, concatenation existed, formatting also existed. There's a reason why there's a reason we still have both, and it's not yet obsolete. It's still because you will find yourself one day, trust me, you'll find yourself in a situation one day where formatting will be better or concatenation will be better. It totally depends. For instance, when I teach kids, I like to start teaching them with normal concatenation. And when they understand that, and we started talking about functions, then there's a better way you can do this, and that way is formatting. So you're enjoying this, please head on to Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can, I think, let me drop my Twitter handle so that you can also type and I can retweet and follow. Yeah, so please, the official hashtag is at hashtag DSM Bootcamp 2020. Please, you can tweet your experience, how it's going for you. You can also tag me at O_Funminiyi at Data Science NIG, also on Twitter, and let's get a tweeting. So 1F is, so it formats the float to one decimal place, which is just exactly one decimal place after, and 2F is two decimal places, 3F is like that for decimal places. Yeah, awesome. So Booleans are data types that's true or false. Like I think the guy was George Boolean, so I don't remember the name. So yeah, there's a place on very funny one, and we will see where the Booleans are very good with our if else's and the like. So if A true, if you call for A, you get that type A will be a bool. We checked a bit of this earlier. Then imagine the comparisons. Yeah, George Bool. I was correct. Yeah, George Bool. Thank you very much. So 1 greater than 2. Just, you see that there's no print function here. Just asking 1 greater than stating 1 greater than 2 and running that will return false because 1 is not greater than 2. So a Boolean operator is at work when a non-place order F1, only that we don't want to assign yet. Yeah, actually, very very useful. Very useful for working with objects. Working with objects. I remember I'm trying to print some things and then it comes out as an object. I'm like, what is this? One of the times I had to go back to revisit OOP was when I started. I had a task to do NLP and I was trying to print out something, but it wasn't it was printing object location, object memory location. So I was like, what is actually going on here? And that was when I had to go and revisit and I said, man, there's so much to learn and one keeps learning. And I think one of the important things is as you work on projects, you find the next thing that you can learn to make sure that every time there's something new, there's something enticing you, pushing you to learn and to read. Yeah, so much to read. I know, right? So much to read, and we've never got into research part yet. So it's really beautiful. So some examples of lists. So idea of machine learning projects to embark on. Yes, I do. And these are there's no, the thing is, there are so many articles already addressing. Just Google, just go top machine learning projects to embark on, machine learning projects to learn from. You'll see a lot of recommendations, a lot, more than I can take off the top of my head right now. And those keep changing, especially with industry. And but of course, everybody wants to work with the Titanic. You want to start your basic with Titanic data set, some classification. You want to do the Boston housing, Iris data set, and all those things. And recordings, yeah. So they will be available after. They will be available. They will be very much available when you go to Cargo. Yes, you find the data sets and competitions that you can learn so much. And even the hackathon was the hackathon was really amazing, wasn't it? What an hackathon. Okay, so lists and loops. So list basically is an ordered sequence of objects that is mutable. You can change what is inside. They follow the same, and indexing uses the square bracket. Very, very, very important. Defining, declaring lists like this. After myself, this like this. It happens, guys. It happens. So, square brackets. The type will be a list. Yep. Basic list. The items are separated, but the objects or items are separated by commas. When you print your list, it prints that way. So let's do a quick exercise. Type in your most frequently used line of code. Just curious. Let's just do a quick exercise. What's your most frequently used line of code? How were you able to raise funds for your IoT to test your models? Like, what was the way for? Okay, yeah. So first off was personal funding. Again, while everybody does that, Calamity, I want to just answer family members and all to get the hardware and things in there. And some of them I haven't even gotten here because I just got my Raspberry Pi 4 earlier this year. When it was released, I was able to get one earlier this year. Annoying part was I remember probably PDWTSB. Yeah. Okay, let's see your most like import number as MP coming. For L in no wow DF for wow. Wow, there's so many data scientists and data analysts here. So yeah, about the funding and also finding organizations whose visions align with yours, who are able to ready to provide the space and the opportunity for you to geek out and also fund those things will be very useful. Yeah, is see data scientist DF described. Let me see what is. I think my most frequent line of code will have to be my. Let me make a mark down so to be big. My most frequent line of code would definitely. I don't think it. I think it is for me. Yeah, I anything my most frequent line of code. I don't think I import anything as much as I say for. Import pandas, import number. Like that's the first thing. I hope there's nobody on this call that is team import TensorFlow as TF, import OpenCV as CV, import CUDA, import everything, and then the next line is print hello world. I hope we are not here. See all these function people. Import all the machine guns. Okay, so what's IoT and embedded systems about? Okay, so IoT and embedded systems are IoT is Internet of Things, is the interconnection of devices across the internet such that they can communicate with one another. Very useful in automating data collection, especially in communications, and bringing intelligence to the edge, making AI. Imagine being able to make AI available on tiny devices or the embedded systems. So embedded systems are larger systems that are part of systems that are part of a larger system. For example, the clock that is part of a machine, and that clock itself is an embedded system. But largely, I stand by my comments. Even I'm not using them. You see, our people are plenty here. Yes, we know ourselves. Import everything. Take screenshots, post on Twitter. They'll think they are doing one deep learning task, but that is only sorting some files. Chief is only solving data ahead. Uh-huh. Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Beautiful. Beautiful. Import bumper. Wow. That's it. Import bumper as PG. Please, oh. All right, so indexing and slicing of list works the same as for strings. Your string is just like your list, the same works. The length function can always help you. Aha, the embedded explanation. So the embedded system, like I said, you can look up more on Google. I don't want to take too much time for this class, so you can just look up more on Google. But basically, the embedded systems are those hardware systems that form smaller parts of larger systems. For me, and that form the basics of robotics, other automations, and all those things. Yeah, a lot of people with hardwares like Raspberry, like Pi, etc. Yeah, a lot of organizations do work with that, especially STEM organizations that teach. But I don't, let's change the objective of this class. You can send a DM, WhatsApp, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or any platform. Really, I usually reply fine. Who is Oluwatobi Babajide? Please, oh, I'm not running for president. Please, my friend. All right, please let's focus, please. Okay, so useful list functions, we have list or append, pop. Yeah, list or append is a very popular one. Yeah, just Google. Google will help you a lot. Yeah. So all right, so Google will help a lot, please. So let's list.append will put anything you put in the parentheses and append it to a list. Very, very, very useful. One of my favorite ones that I've recently discovered is the pop. Well, not recently discovered, but which will. Now here's the good thing: if you do not declare any arguments, or you don't in the function itself, in the pop function, it will just remove the last index. So what it does, the pop removes that item in the list. For example, we have my list 1, 2, 3, 6, and if we run, so let me run this, my list pop, blah blah. By the time we use the pop, it finds 6. And if we print my list, you see that it's just 1, 2, 3. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. So list the append. This is just function object. You see, so this is an example of an object as you see, because it's not. So if we put the append, what are we appending to list? Append. You can really append, and the lists are very, very easy to work with. You can append anything, almost anything, and it goes to the last. So if I see my list dot, I don't, let's imagine I don't know the length print. No, I don't even need to. So just print my list -1, print the last object there, and we'll have Funminiyi that I just entered there. Yeah, okay, awesome. So you can append things. Last item is always my list item, the pop. Yeah, so it will store that. How do you specify the pop function? What to move something like the last? Yeah, so if you want to move something other than the last object, you specify the item, the value of the object itself. Yeah, the value of the thing itself. You can also pop index. You can also use the index. I'm not sure if there is something else you add to remove it, but I'm much aware that you can use there's a function that helps you. You can delete items in the list just by the index. Just by the index, you can delete items in a list. That I am very sure. But I'm always very careful to do that, because the index of the list changes. So you have to be careful on for loops and def. Yeah, we're getting there. That's where we'll be rounding up on for loops and defs. Yeah, we'll be rounding off there. All right. So more on list. Yeah, another good sweet part of the list is pop item removes the last inserted item. Yeah, thank you. Pop as a list also, I believe. Let's check. Let me just confirm. To place a value without paying. Yeah, you can pop up the value in a list to place something without. Yes. So these are many use cases of list. You see that there are many use cases of your pop. Thank you very much, Paul Louis. Thank you very much, Timothy Way. Thank you very much. Let's try pop. Oops. Try. Nope. So try 1, 2. Oh my. List object. Okay, no, it only accepts integers. Yeah. So the pop only accepts integers. Yeah. So that's up for that. Yeah. So you can't use this, but you can just use maybe a for loop or but I believe there's a way. It doesn't come to mind right now, but you can just, as usual, just remove. The difference between the pop and the remove, you can pop out the values that remove. Yeah. So you can also use the remove. Yeah, there's also the remove. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So there are so many functions, and that's why honestly, from time to time, I think one very good thing, many of us, if you are like me or most people I have observed, learned these things a little here, learned our coding a little here, a little there. I think no matter how far you've gone, I think it's always good to sit down, just find a weekend or sometimes sit down with the documentation and just go through the amazing things you can do. So for me, I just discovered that you can do so many amazing things with Python or with R. No, let's leave out Gary. With Python, just by going through the documentation, works as discard. People are amazing. And even with the new, one of the sweetest parts of the latest Python update for me has been the dictionaries, because I created a dictionary, working with data frames and all. And it's very beautiful. And there are very easier ways you can use your list comprehension or dictionary comprehension to create dictionaries. I think we'll get there later. So nested lists also work the same way as the normal list. Nested lists are just lists in a list. And that's one of my favorite parts of this. You can have list in list. And basically, this is what forms our data frames. In the basic form, pop takes of the index after being popped. Like, thank you, number 3. Thank you, Victor. Thank you. I love the way we are dropping these amazing comments in the chat. Please continue. Thank you very much. You guys are doing exceptionally well. Okay. So you can also combine lists of lists. You can make lists from other lists. Right? Okay. New list. Yeah, loops. So loops are very interesting and very many times I like to unless I need a loop. I didn't usually like using those, but once you understand them, I used to be scared of it used to give me a lot of issues when I started, but then when you finally realize that there are some problems that a loop will just solve, and instead of, I think many of these things, instead of waiting infinite loops, exactly, you just and that's why I always like to, as much as possible, when you run your codes, put checks in your codes. Python doesn't give us console.log, but you can find a way in your code to check what you are doing and make sure it's giving you what you want before you leave your code to run or you leave your model to train. You go for 3 hours and you find out that it's just an infinite loop. Extend was like, but create a list of this nested list. Thank you very much. I prefer for loop to while loop. Yeah, but sometimes the while loop does the trick better, and sometimes you need the for and the while. So basically, really is what finding the best. I used to run away from while loops until I sat down to face my fear. Now, what is this while loop safe? So code indentation becomes very important as you work with loops and the control flow. Very important. Python is an indented language. Never forget that. An indent could life or destroy one. So while loops repeatedly execute a single statement. So let's look exactly. Depends on the task. So whatever is best for the task, really. Whatever is best for the task. Thank you, Adelio and John. So A is 1, while A is less than 10. Print A is less than 10. Now, at the end, remember that we said that A is equal to A plus 1. Now, remember we said that A is 1, right? Now, watch what happens if I comment this line. Let's enter. And what will happen is, and many times this code is going to run forever. Literally, this code will run forever. Why? He said, don't do it, bro. This code, it's going to run forever. And the truth is, many times, and many people run away from this thing because many times we write a lot of complex. This one can crash PC. We write a lot of complex loops and we lose track. I feel you have indents that are very crazy thing. I'll let you in on some secrets. If you remember, our data validation for the bootcamp was very much data driven, and there were many loops involved, and there's some part of it. Let's put it back. So what we just want is, as long as A is less than 10, let A equals to 1, print A is less than 10, and it will keep printing until A, yeah. So we can get more complex while this is this, do this. The important thing is to make sure that there is a condition on which your while loop depends is able to change. I don't know how you guys solve it. What I like to do is, if I'm declaring a while loop, the condition that the while loop will break on is that before I type any other thing, I like to know what will make it stop. And that's the next thing I type. And then in between, I begin to type every other thing. Be careful with loops, while loops. All sorts of computers, there's a potential that the record remains always true. Exactly. So while the while loop is true, it keeps running. Now, the break keyword, very important. What does the break keyword do? The break keyword will break out of the top loop but continue. So it will break out of the current loop but continue the which one does it continue now? Break. Yeah, it will continue the higher order of the loop. So we have a while here and we have an if here. So what will happen if we run this is, let me just run this again. All right, so 0 is, the condition is if x is equal to 3. Now, this is not assignment. You see that this n is changed. If x is 3, this will cause a break out of the top loop. And note that, please, very important. I thought ifs were loops. Ifs are not loops, so they are conditional statements, please. All right. So once to break out of a loop, once x is 3, you see, it says while x is less than 10, but if x is 3, break the loop. So it breaks it totally. That's why you see it stops at adding 1 to x. Once it adds 1 to the x, see that it doesn't even print anything out, because by the time it comes back here, x is already 3 and the loop has broken. So, but for the for loop, it's an iterator for every item in an object statement to do stuff. That's how it works. For every item in an object, there's a statement to do stuff. And note that there are some, okay, well, we'll get there. Once we learn, okay, objects that we've learned about, we can seem to iterate over the like strings, loops, tuples. But remember that tuples are the stuff that you cannot edit. You cannot, they are immutable. You cannot edit items in them. So let's check out a for loop with a list. So for a number in this list, do something. The idea is, now for a long time, I used to wonder what has to be here. So basically it's anything. You can say for thing, for, yes, continue. I did talk about continue. I'm surprised it's not here. There was a place I talked about continue. Wow. Okay, yeah, it's down here. Okay, so yeah, so we'll still get there. I know I didn't want to forget that. Very, very important. Yeah. So I remember to talk about that. So if I can say for bootcamp in my list, as long as this is here, print. So for every item in this list, each of these, it will print each of that item. I must put this also as bootcamp, else I'm going to get an error. Bootcamp raised to power 2. Aaron, do you always consider using for loop before while loop? Yeah, so personally, most of my work just involves using simple for loops. I can usually get away with using for loops, but many times I need to use while. But I've tried to move away from making judgments before I see the data. I let the data inform. So to make the right judgment, so we try to make do not make an inference before you get the facts. Get the fact and then make an inference and then know the tool you should use. It makes the work better, easier, and tries to live out bias of which what should I use. And sometimes for loop might not be optimal and while loop might be optimal. So like we've said earlier, whatever is best for the task should be used. So for totally made up in my list, print totally made up, print every item there. It is to just print every item there. And you can now begin to put in conditions in your for loops. Print, aha. I see now look at this print number, but it's printing them. That's an achievement on its own. I think these things just come with experience. The more you create, one time you get stuck and you realize that this is the work for a while loop. I could have gotten away with a while loop since morning. So those things just happen. So I want to try something. Yeah. So you can add separators and those kind of things to your print statements with the end. I dropped the link for that earlier, the tutorial, you find it there. So for number in my list print, I am a for loop print. So for loops can make you can do very beautiful things. You can iterate through, you can check through multiple lists, check if an item is in another list, check if somebody is a list. Let me give a good example. I can 25 for the bootcamp, but did not fill the confirmation form, but the person actually did the data graph. Okay, can you send the link? Yeah, can you send the link? I'll resend the link shortly. Okay, so